Hello and welcome to the Deception Tips podcast, where you will learn amazing cues to detect deceit that will help you read people like never before. I'm your host, Spencer Kaufman. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to episode number 88 of the Deception Tips podcast. Last week we talked all about display rules and how people learn to lie as they get older. They're taught to lie from their parents, grandparents, peers, and those around them. Of course, children are born inherently with the devious nature. You have to teach them how to be good. They know how to be bad. It's inherent in us. However, lying is something that, yes, they may know how to do it when they're little, and it may be born in them, but they are not really good at it until they grow older. Now, that's pretty obvious because as they grow older, they obviously lie a little bit more, and then they have more practice, and practice makes perfect. That doesn't mean you should go out and practice lying, though. You should practice telling the truth. However, as children grow up, they're taught to lie through these display rules, such as receiving a present from a grandmother, and you teach the kid, hey, you need to be polite. You need to say thank you, even though you don't like it, or you didn't want it, or it wasn't what you were asking for, like a pair of socks or something. I hated getting those on Christmas. And things like food. When you're at the meal table, or you're at a guest or someone's house, and if you tell your children, you say, hey, I know you're going to go over to Little Tommy's tonight, and if they cook you something that you don't like, be polite. Don't say it's gross. Tell them you're full, eat everything else, something like that. You teach them to be polite. And that is deception. That is lying. And again, we brought up the question of, okay, well, should they tell the truth in those circumstances? Probably not. Why? Well, because what would be the point of telling the truth, saying, you know what, this food is terrible, I'm not going to eat it? That is very rude, inconsiderate, and just not nice. So instead of being blatantly obvious or telling the truth that way, you could find a nicer way to tell the truth. You eat the rest of the food on the plate and you say, you know what, I've had enough. Okay, you have had enough because you don't want any more of that other stuff, what's on your plate. There are ways where you can tell the truth and still tell them that you don't want whatever it is, such as the example last time of the little kid, did you like my play or did you like whatever? And you say, you know what? Or my joke, I think, was the example. You say, you know what? I like it when you told it. But if anyone else would tell it, I wouldn't like it. Okay, you don't like the joke, but because they told it and you liked them, you told them that without breaking their heart, saying, no, it was a terrible joke. You do not need to be an insensitive jerk. So today we're talking about a tip that is similar. Although this is on the other hand, instead of being polite and lying or telling these polite lies or social lies or learning lies, this is on calling out lies. So you've had a lot of practice reading people, learning body language, understanding deception. Why have you had a lot of practice? Well, come on, this is episode 88. Hopefully you've been listening to all the others. That's 87 plus the trailer. You've probably listened to 88 episodes already. In addition, if you're really avid, you probably read the Deception Tips book, the Deception Tips Revised and Expanded, A Guide to Deception, maybe even have looked at all the blog posts. You could have even possibly watched all the videos as well, so you really have a lot of practice at this. Not to mention if you've studied anybody else's stuff. Therefore, what are you doing with all of that knowledge, all of that practice? Are you looking around and you're calling out everybody's lie? How are you doing today, sir? Oh, I'm great. I don't think you're doing too great. You did this and this, which means there might be some deception there. How do you like my cooking? Oh, it's awesome. Oh, I don't think so. I saw a little disgust on your face when you said that. Are you calling out every single lie you see? Well, hopefully not. But either way, we are going to talk about that today and whether or not you should or shouldn't be pointing out all of these little lies and whether or not it's important. So, without further ado, here it is. This is deception tip number 88. When calling out a lie, ask yourself whether or not the truth really matters in that situation. Here it is again, deception tip number 88. When calling out a lie, ask yourself whether or not the truth really matters in that situation. So this is important. When you are calling out lies, you need to make sure that it matters. Things like whether or not someone enjoyed their food or whether or not someone is really doing well, they may not matter. However, if it's someone that you care about and you want to know what's going on and they say they're fine and you read on them, oh, well, they say they're fine, but you know what? Deep down and inside, I can see that they want to talk. So you could kind of say, okay, well, what's going on? And then they would start to spill their guts for you because you read their body language and you understood that they're not fine. Something else is going on. So now you got to the root of the matter. They said fine, which was a lie, and it was a polite social lie because they don't want to burden everybody with their problems. But you prodded and you asked them to, and then they unloaded on you. So that would be one way. Another thing is, let's go back to the food example. If you have a child and they're your kid or they're a guest or anybody, someone you care about, and you can kind of see that, you know what, maybe they don't like that food, but they're really trying to be polite. They're a good kid. They're eating it. They're saying, no thank you, please, can I have some more of this, and all that kind of stuff, and you see that maybe they're not liking that. And you watch their body language, you could say, you know what, would you like me to make you a peanut butter sandwich to go with that? And maybe they would. Or something else. You could maybe offer, would you like some more of this? Because you saw that they really liked the mashed potatoes on the table. Hey, would you like some more mashed potatoes? You don't have to eat that other stuff. You could have all the potatoes you want. And that little kid will light up and be happy. You saw they were being polite. They didn't really like the food. You don't have to call them out in the lie and say, hey, why don't you like my cooking? What's the matter with you? I'm not a good cook? That poor kid is going to be barraged with a ton of questions that they don't want to answer because they're going to feel uncomfortable and they haven't had that practice. And anybody would. You challenge an adult like that and they're going to lose their mind. It's not normal for them. So the question is whether or not you should be always calling out lies every time you see them. Now, you can still call them out nicely like I did there. Instead of saying, what's the matter with you? You don't like my cooking, or I'm not a good cook, you don't want to eat that? You could say, hey, would you like to have some more potatoes? You don't have to eat that other stuff. So you called out their lie because they were being deceptive about the food, but you did it in a nice way and gave them something else. You can do these things nicely. You just need to think about them. And that's all it really is. If you can read people and understand their body language, you are achieving a new level of insight on the human condition. You're starting to care more about other people. Why are you caring more? Well, because now you know what they're truly feeling. And if you know and understand what they're feeling, then you'll be able to meet or achieve or whatever, express, see, understand the needs that they have. And it's your choice whether or not you are going to help them achieve those needs. So we're going to talk a lot more about all of this coming up right after this.
People are always being fooled by lies because they don't know how to spot them. When more people like the Deception Tips Facebook page, less people will be fooled by lies.
Welcome back to Deception Tip episode number 88, where we are talking about whether or not it is right or wrong or important or whether or not it even matters that you call out every single lie you see. If you notice a lie, should you point it out and say the truth? Should you call people out on their lies every time? Well, it goes hand in hand. It's back and forth, two sides of the coin. One side says yes, because people need to be honest. People need to know that you can spot their lies so that there's no point in them lying to you. But on the other hand, you don't want to be an insensitive jerk that's always pointing out every time someone is lying. You go to a meeting and someone says, hey, how's it going? And you're watching this conversation and they say, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you say, that's not what happened. I know you're lying on that. Well, now you just made them look bad in front of whoever they're talking to. And the person that they're talking to probably doesn't care whether or not you pointed out a little insignificant lie. And that's the key to this entire matter here. So, is it important that you call out all the lies? No. Is it important that you call out the bigger lies? Yes. So if you remember, last week we spoke of high stake and low stake lies. We used other terms: significant, insignificant, harmful, malicious, or unimportant, all kinds of different quotes or terms. We have white lies, things like that, polite lies, social lies. So basically, anything that is a low stake lie, which is those lies that are polite, social. How are you doing today? Did you like the food? How do you like my haircut? They're white lies. Those are really not that important. Does it really matter if people know the truth in that situation? If your answer is yes, then it is important. Maybe it's important to you, or maybe it's important to someone else around you. However, in general, those polite and social lies, they're not life dependent. It's not a life or death situation. It's not going to ruin someone's career, things like that. They're just embarrassment. So whether or not it's important for you to embarrass someone or to not embarrass someone, that is up to you. For me, in general, I let a lot of those lies go, even though I may know something else is going on. And sometimes I'll even go up to the person afterwards, privately, and say, hey, you said you were fine, but I don't know. I don't know if I believe it. What's going on? And see if they want to open up to you. And if they say everything's fine, they're not ready to talk, or they don't want to talk to you. But then you could even tell them, you know what? I can see something is going on. You don't want to talk to me, that's fine, but I encourage you, talk to somebody. Do something about it. Don't just hold it in. And they might, say, go take a hike or something, or, tell you to shove off, but you've at least expressed it and you've shown them that you care. So someday, if they are ready to talk, they'll come to you. That's all you got to worry about is in the minute. You don't need to embarrass everybody every single time they lie. All right, on the other hand, high stakes lies. Now we're talking serious business: blackmail, extortion, lying to save lives, covering up murder or other crimes, things like that. Are these important to uncover? Well, chances are most of you listening to this do not have to deal with high stakes lies on a daily basis. However, if you do, then you need to judge each situation differently. Are you going to save lives or take lives? Are you going to catch bad guys or harm good guys? So the question really is, which side are you on? If you want to catch the bad guys, then yes, you probably need to expose some lies. Like if you have a suspect in custody and they're lying, and you want to find out who robbed the grocery store, who solved the murder, who has the drugs or the shipment of guns, or whatever industry you're in, if you're in law enforcement, then yes, it is a good idea to expose those lies. Call out that person, get them to tell the truth. That's what this whole podcast has been about. However, if you're in the world of espionage or politics, and the things that you reveal may ruin someone's career or end someone's life, well, then you need to think a little bit more on that one. Is the person's career you're ruining, do they need to be removed from their position? If yes, well, by who? On what authority? That's something that you really got to think about, because if it's just a personal vendetta, then that's wrong. If there are other reasons, maybe it's something worth pursuing. How about whose life would be ended by some lie being revealed? That is something that people in the government are all too careless about. They say they're only humans, or they're just boots on the ground. These are human lives we're talking about. They're lying to cover up their own CYA, and other people are paying the price. What is the price of revealing or telling a lie? Usually it's telling lies, but if they get called out, now that person's in trouble and those lives could maybe be saved. So there's a good argument for calling out lies. But people in espionage lie all the time, and they have to save their lives and other people's lives. If you're a co-agent with them and you see that they're lying, are you going to call out their lie in front of the enemy and both of you get executed? I don't think so. So each thing is really a case-by-case basis, and you're best to use your best judgment. Each time, though, you need to think about it. High stake or low stake lie. High stakes lies you got to be careful with. Low stake lies, probably not worth it. So I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Deception Tips podcast. I hope that you'll share it with your friends, subscribe to the feed, check out the Deception Tips videos, the blog, and take a look at the books I have available. And as always, tune in next week for a new Deception Tip.